Welcome to another episode of Three Men in a War Game, where we don't do intros anymore, and I'm Paul.
I'm Kevin, and it's my fault, but maybe it's just pandemic stress.
This is Potter, and Nezuko-chan.
Couldn't get away from it.
I couldn't do it. Nezuko-chan!
All right, so anyway, we like Demon Slayer, and we also like war games, but we're not talking about either of those tonight.
Yeah. Nope.
Paul, what are we talking about tonight?
We're going to talk about your favoriteest thing ever, Flesh and Blood.
Cool. And before you groan in like another Flesh and Blood episode, there's a twist, a good twist on this episode. It's not going to be
a twist.
It's not going to be like how we broke it down the first time and made like a regular 3-minute episode. We're gonna do a little introspection on it with a specific twist. But before that, hobby stuff. Gentlemen, start your hobbies. What have you been doing?
I have been building a lot of Gundams. And I mean a lot.
Don't undersell it, man.
Let's see. So I don't remember when Kevin got me into this hobby. I already have 6 models on my display shelf. I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 kits in my backlog.
Yeah.
Jeez, you already have it. You already have a pile of shame.
I already have a pile of shame.
Damn, son.
You're building them quick, though.
Well, yeah. So for me, it's been really cool because like it's been a real nice, relaxing thing for me to do at the end of the night, like when the kids go to bed. Because there was a bit. I hit a slump for like 2 months where like nothing was interesting me. Like I wasn't wanting to watch TV. I wasn't wanting to read. I wasn't wanting to play video games. Nothing. And I've come out of this slump. And, Gunpla was there, and I built my first kit. I was like, oh, this is fun. This is cool. I built, a couple of the anime. I got I forgot. I've got 2 other anime kits that I built as well, too. I got Tanjiro, and I've got Izuku Midoriya that I built as well, too. Which are very simple kits. And it was just becoming relaxing. It's just like I can just sit there and I can put something on that I've watched a million times. And I can zone out and I can build a kit in a night and for 2-3 hours and I'm good. And it's at the end, I get instant gratification. It's done. It's pretty and it's up on the shelf.
Yeah.
And
plus it guides
I accomplished
you
something.
And it guides you into another form of entertainment in that like you want to learn about the robots you're building a little bit. So you watch the shows.
Yep. I mean, I already, because like I watched Gundam when I was a kid, on Toonami growing up, as a millennial. Most of us.
You just inhaled Gundam 00 in like 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I mean, it's only 50 episodes. So, and again, I live by myself.
I know. So. I'm just saying, like, it definitely like it fires up the desire to like building the Gunpla helps dive deeper into it, right?
Well, I mean, let's also say that I've finished all of OG Gundam as well. I finished all of what is it? 08. I finished all of 08. I finished all of Pocket War. I finished all of...
so you've been watching a lot of Gundam.
Yeah, and I finished Thunderbolt, both seasons or both OVAs of Thunderbolt.
Yeah, I gotta watch that.
I'm on to Stardust now for the UC. Nice. So yeah. So I have been ingesting like Gundam into my veins right now. Okay. It is my hyperfocus. It's my ADHD hyperfocus right now.
This thing happens. Paul, what have you been up to?
I've got some Gundam here.
we got him. We got him, guys. We got him.
Now, I do want to say that I've been eyeing them up for quite a long time because of you, Chris, because you would always sit there and say, I love building stuff, but I hate painting. And I would look at these things in Target and be like, this is exactly what Chris needs.
Yeah. Now, I will say, I don't hate painting. I want to make that very clear. I don't hate painting. I just don't like feeling like I have to paint.
Right, right. And that's the nice thing about these, right? Is that like you build them and they're done. Like I can build something, not have it go onto my paint table, and be backed up on it. But what I also like is that it's enough of a difference from Legoing and taking care of minis, painting and building minis, that it feels like an entirely separate hobby.
It does.
But as I do it, it gets me amped up to do the other stuff too.
I would agree. It definitely fires up my hobby muscle big time.
Yeah, I will say that 100% because I am actually really looking forward to going out to Hobby Night next week to play Legion. Because unfortunately I missed. I wanted to go out this week, but unfortunately I missed MCP this week because unfortunately I got the Rona and I was quarantining myself. So
oh no!
But yeah, it sucked. But but like next week, like I'm super excited to go play Legion and get like I'm like looking all the Wookiees and all the new stuff that's coming out. Like Yoda's coming, or I think Yoda's out now, so like I can finally start playing Chewbacca officially. And all the new stuff for clones are out. So like I'm excited for that, now as well too. So like my passion for minis is not gone. It's just like we were talking about, before, is like just right now, this is what I'm super enjoying. And, I still want to play paint minis, but it's just, this allows me to be the model aspect of stuff and not have to worry about having to paint.
I don't think it has to be justified at all. I think that there are tons of mini painters that use Gunpla as a second. Like every time I post one in a Discord, someone's like, "Oh, I build Gunpla too." Like every single time. It's I think a pretty common secondary hobby for miniature hobbyists.
That's funny that you mentioned that because because I just got some new bookshelves, some Kallax bookshelves from IKEA, and somebody in our local Infinity group posted up that he was getting it for his hobby room because he just bought a house. And, he's like talking about how he's getting closer. I was like, oh man, these are so versatile, aren't they? And I posted up, the picture of the unit that I just got. And somebody was like, oh, what are the Gunpla of? And him and I just started talking Gunpla because he does it as well too.
That's how it is. I'm telling you, it's like like Paul said, it's a perfect ancillary hobby, and it helps you fire up. For me, I have a pretty deep attachment to Evangelion, so it's been really fun to build the Unit 1. And every time I look at it at my desk, I start to hear the theme song for Evangelion playing in my head. And I'm sorry if I just did that to you, but also not sorry because it's the hypest anime intro ever.
It is one of the best anime intros ever.
No doubt about it. It's so good. God, so good. Anyway. And the thing about them too, it's like building it is great, admiring the engineering is great, and you get a toy after, like a legit toy in a good way. It's a thing you can pose and play with. I don't know, I just really appreciate them. Also, they're in the grand scheme of the expense that we thrust into our hobbies, they're pretty affordable for the amount of time it takes to build them.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, and for me, I feel like I'm pretty slow at building them.
Oh, dude, it took me 3 weeks to build Unit 1. It was 3 weeks of half-hour sessions.
And granted, I'm comparing myself to Potter, who's like, oh, I'm going to start this Gundam tonight, and then 6 hours later, he's like, oops, I finished.
Yeah, my master grade Exia in one night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's insane. But yeah, so it's it's I don't know, for the amount of time that I spend building them, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it, and even got my panel liner markers to be able to start doing that.
Heck yeah.
And have a couple. I got what, 2 in the mail now?
Yeah. So if you've been on the fence,
that's exciting.
The moral of the story is, so we can get on to the main topic. If you've been on the fence about building Gunpla, just go to your local Target, buy a Batlog kit, or better yet, buy the RX 78-2 standard HG kit for $12 and get you some, because super fun. And that's a perfect intro to building Gunpla, is that kit. That one really goes together in an hour. You can know nothing right? Like you can be like, I don't even know what's inside this box. Open it and have it built in an hour. So,
well, that one's so simple. You don't need, like, they have it set up so you don't even really need clippers.
Yeah,
like, you can just get all that stuff off the sprue, no problem. So
I mean,
it is.
My son, 8 years old, I bought him that exact kit. He built it all by himself, no help. I did not help him at all. He followed the instructions, and again, the instructions are both English and Japanese, so can be confusing. My 8-year-old went from instruction to instruction to instruction, built it by himself. I did not help him at all. And so now, because of that, he's got a freaking a Crimson Golf right behind me waiting for him to show up tomorrow for me to give to him, because like he can do it. And like, so this hobby is for everybody.
Yeah. And the same with my 11-year-old. She's built an EG kit, and she's working on an Exia now. So.
Ooh,
nice.
Exia.
I don't know what I have. I don't watch the show. I just come up with fun names for them.
And I'm here for that. I'm here for your fun names.
You guys. So
they aren't annoying. They're fun.
As long as you call the RX-78 Grandpa, that's all I care about.
I don't even know which one the RX-78 is.
The American,
the OG,
the American, boy.
the American.
Oh, okay.
Gundam.
I call him Ameribro.
Yeah, but if you get a regular one, if you get the non-Ameribro version, that's Grandpa Gundam.
Okay.
All right.
I actually saw him tonight when I was out around. So
Nice.
all right. So yeah, let's get off the Gundam thing, because we could probably do 7 episodes talking about that.
Probably. And if you're interested in a Gundam spin-off podcast, I guess talk to us about that on Discord.
Yeah.
Because that shit's got me fired up. Anyway, main topic of the night.
Let's get fired up now too. Again.
Yes.
More to get fired up on.
All right. So the main topic of the night, we talked about Flesh and Blood at the top here, but the way that I want to talk about Flesh and Blood is, rather than like going over the mechanics and how to play, like, you can please go back and listen to our episode, because Flesh and Blood is a game that is absolutely worth your time, and whatever amount of money you invest in it. And the reason I wanted to bring it back up is that if you listen to it, you'll know that the guys were sort of interested. Like, I basically barely piqued their interest. And now I would consider them both Flesh and Blood players. Like, they're not like me, where they're playing over 100 games in a 7-month period, but they are playing the game and thinking about the game outside of playing it. Right. So I think you would consider yourselves at least Flesh and Blood players. So you know the rules, you know how the game works. You look forward to new sets coming out, right?
Yep, I agree. I would say that's correct.
I have a playmat. So what's that tell you?
Exactly. Exactly. And it's a cool playmat. But let's dive in. Basically what I did, guys, and you know this, but people listening don't. Haha. I wrote some questions down that I want to ask you interview style. And we'll go back and forth, and I'll ask follow-up questions as they're needed. But what I really want you to do is talk to these points from the point of view of talking to a wargamer who like rolls their eyes at the idea of Flesh and Blood, right? They're like, a TCG.
Ooh, that was me.
EU. Exactly. But you've been converted. So, I've like blessed you, my child. I've done it. I've signed the cross over you, and you're in it.
I appreciate that, sir.
So let's get into it. Paul, Chris, starting with Paul, what are 2 to 3 things that you appreciate about Fab now that you've been playing it for a couple months?
Oh gosh, I have where do I start? So the first thing that I have to talk about is the heroes, because that to me makes the game, I don't know, it makes it feel more accessible to somebody like me who doesn't play card games, right? So
elaborate on why.
It feels it makes it feel more familiar, right? Like, I've always been, when it comes to a lot of stuff, I'm really into like a more RPG side of things. So it's got that RPG feel because you have a character, you have a special ability that character gets, right? So it's not just your deck and the cards in your deck, right? So you have a specific character that creates a theme, right? So the character and what their abilities are creates the theme, and then essentially you're building your deck around that theme that character has.
Yes.
And to me, that's what makes it, right? Because like if you have Magic the Gathering or My Little Pony or whatever, you know, it's a lot of it is just, you know, the character comes from the deck. Right.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it feels like there's so much more you can do because of that character. It just, I don't know, just to me, it just makes it feel so much more unique and all of the I don't know, the theme comes through stronger because of that. And because you have everything revolving around that character.
Yeah, and your card pool, right, is designed around that character. So if you're playing a Runeblade, you're going to be playing Runeblade cards, which are all designed around a certain style of or a certain set of styles of play, right?
Right, because as we get more heroes, we get a wider variety of Runeblade stuff.
Right, and like a perfect example,
especially Runeblades, because there's like 8 of them.
Exactly.
But, you know, and which also allows you to, you know, go back and play with, you know, the original Runeblade, you know, 3 Runeblades later, and you have more options for them now. You have different things that you can do, a little bit of a different theme, you know, as that comes in. So I think that is one of my absolute favorite things about the game is because to me, I'm not a card gamer.
Sure.
Right. So, and I think this is what it is. So it borrows a gaming approach that I have with miniatures games, which is that in order to like play a faction, you kind of have to think like the faction. So it gives me a place to start.
I love that.
Right. So it gives me an identity that I can start building my deck with, as opposed to going, here's 8,000 cards. Good luck.
And this is huge because everyone who starts playing Fab, like the first thing they do is they latch onto a character. Like every single person, you latch onto something. Like for me, it's Leviah because she's metal as hell.
Hit with big tree.
Yeah, and that's how that works. So, but I love that as a first point. So, Chris, what's one thing that you really appreciate about it?
Well, being that Paul stole my answer, fucker.
Hey, I was going to go for a second one, but I figured I would steal them all if I kept
God
talking.
damn it! Like,
that's kind of why I pulled it away. I was like, wait a minute, I'll let Paul have another one, but I want to let Chris go first.
Yeah, thank you. The hero, since Paul stole that one, because I absolutely love the hero. And I think we talked about it in our previous episode, like that's why I really liked it. Cause I did like the only card game I had experience with before this was Hearthstone being a digital card game. Well, that's not, I played some Magic back in middle school, but,
and Hearthstone is a similar thing where you play as a character or class.
Right. And I like it for the same reasons that Paul liked it, because it gives a starting place. It's like that, like he said, that RPG, mentality. Like, I'm Hulk Smash. I like straightforward stuff. Like, so finding those, those masters, those characters, those casters, whatever you want to call them, the heroes that, do that. That's all like that. But let's see. I'm going to say the Blitz format. I really appreciate the Blitz format. I like, how much it can still feel weighty, yet it can still be, it's so quick. And I can, we did a sealed draft one night with a bunch of us locals in our group. And, doing that, being able to play so many games, and it was, in 2 hours and getting, 4 games in.
Plus the draft.
Plus the draft itself. Yeah. Like I really appreciated that format, and it didn't feel like I was gimping myself by playing the smaller point cost. I've actually not even played a full size game of Flesh and Blood yet. I've completely and only played Blitz to this point because I'm enjoying it. It's quick. It's fun. I can bring it on a minis night. If I don't get a game in, I can play, and somebody else has got Fab, I can play them.
Yeah, it's again another great point. That there are 2 formats right off the bat, right? Classic, Instructed, and Blitz. Blitz is a much shorter game, smaller deck, smaller health pool, so you can get games in faster. CC is like the more balanced, I guess, gameplay style with larger decks and larger health pools, and a little bit different deck building restrictions. But the point of it is, though, that like, and this is something we'll talk about as we go, is that the game is very adaptable to the things that you like. But Paul, do you have another thing that you wanted to hit on?
I do. And that is the fact that cards have multiple purposes.
Yes, Paul.
Right?
Yes.
So
yes.
they are, you can, use them to attack or buff. You can use them to defend, and they're also your resource.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that, every card is usable in every situation, never feels bad, right? You're never going, oh man, none of these cards are going to do me any good.
Dead hands are very rare.
Yeah, exactly. Like I've had maybe,
rare.
I think I've had one in all the games that I've played where I've been like, Jesus, there's nothing I can do.
It's very,
that's pretty rare.
Yeah, very rare.
So, and I think that's great because what you end up doing instead of going, oh man, I got to wait for my next turn, you sit there going, wait, how can I maximize what I have? Oh shit, I just got hit really hard. How many of these cards can I give up for defense to now still be able to do something on my turn? Or do I just have to give up everything and then use my next turn to draw? So it puts you, instead of giving you dead hands, it's giving you options, tactical decision making.
Agency.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's huge to me. Huge. Huge.
That's the thing. The way they set the rhythm up, that you don't draw at the start of your turn, you draw at the end of your turn, and then you need to keep your cards through your opponent's turn. Like that little twist on the way card games normally work is so impactful for Flesh and Blood.
Fully agree. It's a major selling point for me. Yeah, really is.
And it also, like, the thing you're talking about with the cards being multiple things, it also is a huge thing for deck building, because most cards, I should say, have 3 versions, right? They have the version that pitches for a lot and has a weak effect. They have the version that has a strong effect but pitches for less resources, and then the one that's in the middle. And figuring out, like, the right density of those cards and then utilizing those cards properly when you draw them. It's like such a big part of the skill of playing the game.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's a lot of what it is. And then, when you have them, being able to use them properly and well and to your advantage.
Hell yeah. Chris, do you have another one? You don't have to.
No, I do actually.
Right.
I mean, it's going to play on, I think, what Paul was saying about the fact that the way the mechanic is with the cards and not having the dead hand, because of that, and the way that it's designed, there's no dead turns either. So like, even if it's your opponent's turn, you're still actively doing something.
Oh, I think most of the game is during your opponent's turn. Like, most of the time you're playing Flesh and Blood is on your opponent's turn, because the critical decisions you make are during their turn, because you're evaluating your hand.
Right, like you've got to figure out what to keep in your hand on your opponent's turn, so that way you can play your hand, going into your turn, since the card draw is at the end of your turn. Mm-hmm. So, like, for that, it feels very much like Infinity. Even though it's an I go, you go game, I'm always engaged. I'm always doing something. It's like, it's like where I played Magic before, or, Hearthstone. I'm like, yeah, sure, I've got cards out there that are defending, but I'm not actively doing anything, because those cards just have defense values. They're just going to do it naturally.
I never thought of it that way, but you're right. You're 100% right.
Yeah. It's like, it's for sure. It's great. You're always engaged. I super enjoy that.
Yeah. And that's actually, like, it's funny. We went through a little period there where the game was just hyper aggressive, and it was just like throwing haymakers back and forth. And the game is moving much more into an area where it's not just hyper aggressive decks. There's actually control and defense decks. Like, we have the best tank deck that's been printed for the game available now, so you can really mix up your play styles.
Yeah, I really want to try Oldhim out. I really want to try him out.
Oldhim is the fridge, and he is.
Yep. I really want to try him out. Although I'm enjoying.
Boy.
Yeah, I'm enjoying Briar right now. She's a lot of fun, but Oldhim seems like he's going to be my play style.
Yeah, he is
Oh,
very,
dude,
very
he's
cool.
mine. You can't have him.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're in spoiler season for Everfest now, and now we have the new
Bravo.
Yeah.
Sploosh.
I know, so cool. I know, we can get into it. Like, I don't want to get into the nitty gritty because then we're just going to geek out and people are going to lose focus because we're talking about the specifics from the perspective of people who understand them, right? And that's like bad news for someone who we're just trying to convince them to play the game. Okay, so guys,
Sorry, Chopz.
It's fine. I just want to make sure that the goal of this episode, right, is so that I can get people to, even if they're not going to try Flesh and Blood, at least have a deeper appreciation for like why people in general like the game and why it's growing explosively around the world right now.
Right. Absolutely. All right.
So what level are you guys playing at right now? And I mean this in two ways. I know I have it written in one way here, but I mean it in two ways. I mean it in how seriously are you taking the game, and what level are you investing in the game right now? I'll let Chris go first here because Paul went first the first one.
So I think before Tales came out, right as Tales came out, I was pretty heavily invested. I bought a lot.
Sure.
I bought a lot.
That first couple months is rough.
Yeah, because I was buying into it. It was my first one, and I was enjoying it. We were doing some stuff. You know, Paul had come over to my house a couple times and played. We'd gone out and played. It's kind of dropped off, and I think a lot of my excitement for it has dropped, mostly just because of the same reason my excitement for playing mini games has dropped off right now. That's just due to COVID.
Yes.
With the explosion right now. I don't think I've stepped foot into a gaming store since November.
Yeah.
In all honesty, like I've not walked into any of our local gaming shops since like November.
Mm-hmm.
I had a job change for me, so like a lot of it tailed off because of my job change. I had some medical stuff that I've been taking care of. Like that was a big impact with me. I think now that all that's normalized and I'm getting to a point where with a new expansion coming out, my excitement level is rising again, and I think my investment level will be back into it. I don't know if I'll be like with Tales. I bought one box.
Yeah,
I did buy,
and that's what I want to get at. So let's talk about what one box of Tales costs, right? So
yeah,
so we're talking like for unlimited. It depends, right? Because online prices are wild. And so let's just go by like what you can get at a store. Realistically, in a store, a box costs between $75 and $100. Depends on the box when you get it. The cards are weird, but if you're spending $75 per set, right? So once every 3 or 4 months, and plus a blitz deck or two, right? Which are like $10 to $12 a piece.
Mm-hmm.
Is that accurate though? To like what think, you're looking at?
Yeah, I think I was buying. I think with something like Tales, not with the new expansion that's coming out, because the new expansion that's coming out is just the booster. It's all items and buff cards and stuff like that.
Well, it's everything. It's not a draftable set. You can't draft or play it sealed. It's a supplemental set. It's to supplement.
Right, it's a supplemental. There you go. That's the best. So like those, I might buy like one box of. Like when it comes to the main releases, I will probably usually try to buy 2 boxes of, and then after that, it'll be just a couple of boosters every time I go into the gaming store.
Sure, and
just
that's
to see what I can get.
Boy, that is a point you just hit on. So buying a couple boosters every time you go into the store, think about that from someone who's normally a minis gamer that's not buying product constantly. It feels good to patronize the store, even if you're just like, because a lot of times I would go into the store and be like, what am I going to spend $10 to $12 on? But now it's just like, give me a couple packs of Fab, and I'm supporting the store.
Right. And that's the exact reason for like one of the reasons why I'm enjoying, like I'm glad to pick up the game for it, because like I know my kids my kids my son specifically enjoys like playing Pokemon cards and stuff and he's more into the collecting aspect of stuff.
Sure.
But if he gets old enough and Fab's still around and hey, I've got all this stuff, let's play one night and see what he wants to do, and that's something he might be able to do later on. But so Pokemon cards was something I was doing once or twice when I would go to the stores just for the kids. But now it's nice to be able to go and grab something for me.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Paul, what's your investment level?
Yeah, and it's true, right? Like part of my thing is that I love that I can go in and pick something up for just a couple bucks, and it's not like, oh, I bought a can of soda.
Yeah,
right?
you're
like,
buying a lottery ticket,
legitimately,
or like a pull on a
exactly.
slot machine.
Yeah, exactly, and it's it's fun enough that I'm getting something out of it, and the store's getting something out of it, and so I think that's important. I think that's a very especially from a mini gaming point of view, where 9 times out of 10, if you just want to pick something up, you got to spend $30.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to pick up a pack for a
Right.
couple bucks here, but I'm kind of in that same spot where it's like a box. And then the random packs here and there.
But how fun is it to open a box? How fun is box day? Honestly,
It's fun.
It's the best, and I am about to actually open up a second box of Tales of Aria.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
So yeah, and that's kind of it too. Depending on I'm playing casual, so when I get good cards, I'm okay with people who are like, hey, I'm playing this a little more seriously. Are you willing to part with that card?
Like me.
And my philosophy is
Right.
sure.
Yep.
And if that turns it, if I can turn a card or 2 cards into a box, then it's self-perpetuating itself, and I get the fun of opening it.
What a
And
fun
then,
example, Paul.
Yeah, exactly, right. So and then somebody that I know and love can have a really awesome ninja hat.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Dude,
that's
I'm looking
that's
forward to
also
that Ninja Head.
Yeah, I mean that's like that Crucible box I got. I got that the hero that's out of the Crucible box, the really rare hero. What's her name?
Oh,
the one that
Shiana.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got Shiana. I was able to, one of the guys on our Discord, was looking for it just from a collection standpoint to complete his collection.
Mhm.
And, him and I worked out. Sure, I didn't get market value for it, but I'm like, he's a Discord member. I'm going to cut him a deal. You know what I mean?
And you got,
I still
and you got
made
a lot
decent
more
money.
than you got a lot more than you paid for the pack. That's for damn sure.
Right. Yeah. It paid for the box. Like what he paid me was more than what the box cost me. And, I was like, hey, he's happy. I'm happy. I, paid for my box, and I'm somebody's going to use it. Somebody's going to put it to use. I will never play that hero. So yeah, it was cool opening it. I opened her. I was like, oh my God, I got her. I'll never use her, but I got her.
Oh yeah, dude. There's no feeling like hitting a legendary. Whew. It's so good. It's like
best,
it's a huge,
right?
huge
even
endorphin rush.
even for me, I look at the ninja hat, and yeah, I've enjoyed playing the ninja when I play him, but I'm not going big brained enough. And if there's somebody who wants it for competitive play, then by all means.
Oh boy, I'm building my
I'm glad to
OTK
part with
Benji
it.
deck as soon as I get it. But
It should be there by the end of the week.
oh, I'm so excited. All right,
No, tomorrow's almost the end of the week. Maybe early next week, maybe.
Here's the follow-up question. Do you feel like you're getting the right amount of enjoyment for what you put in, monetarily and mind space wise?
So the only reason why I'm going to say no
All right.
is because I'm not getting out enough to play it.
Well, okay. I think if you
But
were able
now
to
when
get out
I
and
when
play
I
more,
play
right?
when I play, yes, absolutely. I just want to play more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And maybe it's time to try and pressure you guys into more Discord games. I'll say like the last 11 games I've played have been Discord because I haven't been going out at all for gaming because of the, Omicron stuff. But
I mean, I know I'm sometimes hard to get up with on Discord, but man, just text me.
yeah. So that's but here's the thing. Like when you're playing the game, like you feel like, and this goes to you too, Chris. When you are playing it, and when you if you think back to when you were like playing more actively because it was before this COVID wave hit, did you feel like you were like getting enough or more than you would expect out of your money and time?
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think 100%. Like There, I mean, even from the aspect of even not being out, like let's not even look at playing the game. There's something I'm getting out of just opening the packs. So like there's that, there's an enjoyment of opening the packs. So I felt like I was getting my money's worth out of opening the packs. Cause and completing the collection, the Pokemon feel, with that.
Yeah, dude, I've got 96 packs of Everfest coming in 2 weeks. Ooh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, I need to talk to Noah. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, like when we were playing, like, I was a little bummed that how late we got to the last day, our last barn gaming day, only because of the fact that I overslept, because it was my fault. But I was hoping to get maybe a game of Fab in. But yeah, I definitely think it's time to get a day, one of those together, because I want to play some more. But because when I was playing, I did feel like I was getting a lot of enjoyment out of it. So I definitely felt like I was getting my money's worth.
Amazing.
Yeah. The game's worth it. And to expand on that, I feel like you can get even more value out of it, even just playing Blitz decks, the precons.
Oh,
yep.
This is what I wanted to talk about.
A lot of what I've played is just busting open precons and playing them.
Yeah, and the
hours of fun.
The next section of this, we're going to dive into that a little bit. So hold on to that thought.
Holding.
Now, before we get to that, though, the next question I wanted to ask, because this is important for us as wargamers, and when you're thinking about miniatures games, there's the concept of the away from the table time, right? Like you have your hobby time, and that's when you're at your desk and you're painting your guys and you're imagining your next game or whatever, and you're playing the game, you're doing that. But there's also the time, that like interstitial time, where you're just like in a daydreaming state, whether it's at a break at work or while you're driving, where you're actively thinking about playing the game better. And this happens for all of us who play war games. Do you know what I mean? Like you get into a game like Alpha or 40K or Drowned Earth or whatever it is, right? MCP Infinity. You're going to have times where you're just thinking about your last game. You're going through the moves, you're going through the motions, you're considering what you could have done better, how you'll deploy differently in the next game, et cetera, right? So that concept, that's very important to us. And the question that I want to ask you guys both is, does Fab deliver on that for you in any way? And I don't know your answers to this. And I actually, if it's no, I'd love to hear why. But if it's yes, I think it's important, because that's such a big selling point for a game, is how much rent it takes in your brain. So Paul, or go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I was like, I'll go first. So the answer is no.
All right.
And the reason why is I will be honest that no game in its entirety, outside of when we're recording a podcast or when I'm actively playing it, or when we're setting up to do things like back when we were streaming pre-COVID, and things like that, took up space in my brain like that since I stopped playing competitively. When I stopped playing competitively, I stopped theory crafting. I stopped thinking about building lists. At that point in time, it was, I've got a game day, I'm going to go out, I'm just going to try this list, built it, and I never thought about it afterwards. And that has been my mindset since I've stopped playing competitive games.
Now,
and that's for everything.
And you're right. And here's the follow-up, is that you're still loving Fab despite that. Yes. Right? Like it's still a great game while you're playing it. Perfect.
Yep. And exactly.
Paul,
and as are all the other miniature games I play.
Yeah.
I will think about it. I do think about it. Probably not at the level that I could. I can definitely see where people can really go down the rabbit hole.
Oh boy!
But my
I'm going to be late for a very important
flexibility. Like for me, it's just very much. I'm just not. I don't have that big brain yet. You know what I mean? My what level of thinking about it is so introductory at this point. So it's a lot more, basics of like, well, what is a decent balance of the different card types? Or, hey, if I play this guy with this type of stuff, maybe this will happen. But it's all very, very, very basic compared to, what a lot of people are getting in there who have a lot more experience than I do. But it's fun, right? Like it's kind of interesting. And I think that's one of the places where
sorry.
I was going to say that's one of those things where it with the hero side of things, right? Like it gives you that basic place to start, and it really helps me play.
Yeah, but that leads me into another point, which is that the game, you can learn how to play it quickly. Like it does not take long. Like I've got my spiel to get up and running with an IRA welcome deck is like 6 minutes, and we're drawing cards and playing. It does not take long, but the game is cavernously deep. The more you give, the more it gives back.
I think that's a great way of looking at it. It does. It definitely wants you to play it, right? And it wants you to play. And it
rewards mastery.
It does. But that's like any good game, right?
Yes. But again, it's like any war game, right? And that's kind of what I want to do with this episode is illustrate that it sort of ticks the same sort of boxes. Because it's just like playing, like thinking about playing Malifaux, right? Like knowing how to play Malifaux is one thing, but looking over at the table and seeing your opponent and seeing the faction they've declared and the scheme pool, and then knowing how to construct your list based on what your opponent might be taking is a totally different skill set. And it requires an enormous commitment to the game to learn to get to that level of mastery.
And you're right, because there's even been times where we've talked about different heroes and whatnot, and just that initial understanding that I have is just so like your understanding of it is just so much deeper, but at the same time we both get a lot of enjoyment out of it, like at the different levels. So it's almost like whatever level you're in, it's good to you.
Yeah, and the other thing too, right, is that you and I play a hero that I'm not familiar with, and we're on a pretty level playing field. So
right,
it's great that way.
Yeah, exactly. Like we've done that, right, where we've played, and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing, or I do kind of understand this hero, and you're like, all right, well, I'm going to try somebody new, and it ends up being close. It's not like I'm getting my ass handed to me every time.
Yep. Cool. And that actually perfectly segues us into the next point, which is talking about Fab as a kitchen table game, because you can play it that way. You can get you can play it the way we just described, which is like getting super into it and understanding all the nuance and playing competitively and going out to the local game store every week. But also you can mark your calendar for when a new set is coming out and go, oh boy, I'm going to go pick up those 3 or 4 new Blitz decks and play those Blitz decks with my friends at home. And I think that the game rewards that level, any level of play. Like, and I wanted to, that's kind of why I wanted to talk about whether or not it lived in your head. And if it didn't, it's fine, right? Because it doesn't have to for you to enjoy playing the game.
Yes. And that's one of the things that I think is fantastic about it, is that those decks out of the box are playable, they're enjoyable, and they work against all the other ones just fine. I've played them into people who have constructed Blitz decks.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, is like I don't feel gimped playing those pre-built construction decks, because I played them in other games when I played Pokemon with my kids. That was the easiest way for me to get in, was those pre-constructed decks. And a lot of times you feel gimped going into certain decks.
And those decks feel like rock, paper, scissors. Like they're is it all? I don't know how Pokemon is successful. The game's play experience is awful, especially with those pre-cons. But it's an important distinction.
These are great.
They're great. They're tuned. I personally, especially like with these Tales of Aria decks, I think you could play those decks many dozens of times against the same person and still have fun playing it.
Oh, absolutely. I've done it. I've done that. I've done exactly that same thing. I've gone to a friend's house with, 4 precons and played for hours with just those decks and just having fun.
Amazing.
So yes, you absolutely can. And I think that's one of the things about it is that you can just pick it up. And if you just pick up those precons every time, you're gonna have a good time. And you can play.
And we'll be clear, those are $10 a piece, not a big investment. So
yeah, they were pretty cheap.
Yeah, and that's just it, right? And you can just keep going at that. Now we're all gamers, so anytime somebody tells you this is all you need, you know just as well as I do that's
asterisk.
Full of shit.
Yeah.
But you can.
I wouldn't
but
suggest.
You can legitimately.
Yeah. I wouldn't suggest it's all you need. But you certainly can play Flesh and Blood with friends if your expectation is that I just want to pick up the precons and play. Like, it's kind of like if you've been playing Magic, if you played Magic before in your life, so anybody who's listening, if you've played Magic and when you saw Jumpstart and you were like, wait a minute, I can buy 2 Jumpstart packs and my friend can buy 2 Jumpstart packs and we can crash those together and just play Magic. Are you serious? Like, it's such an appealing concept that like you don't have, it like takes the stress of deck building completely out of it. And you're on a fairly level playing field when you do it. So yeah, the Blitz decks are certainly a good way to kitchen table fab. Also,
I think they're wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, those have been. I mean, I think for the most part, my biggest experiences is just rolling up, kitchen table. I mean, I think majority of my games have happened on my kitchen table. So
yeah, and I mean, even the way you play it at a wargaming night. If you're talking about going at a wargaming night and you just bust out a precon and play it before or after your main event, that's a kitchen table game. Do you know what I mean? You're not going out to play fab competitively. You're playing a friendly game with your buddy.
Yeah, I mean, when Tales came out, we got a friend, we talked a friend of ours into playing the game. He grabbed a couple of decks, the precon decks, and I all I did was play Briar, and I think I bought the Oldhim deck as well too. But all I played was Briar that day, and he bought all of them. He bought all 4 of the heroes that came out with Tales.
Lexi deck is so fun. Oh my god, the Lexi precon is so fun.
Wow. Yeah, she was like, seeing her play was great. And like, that's what we did. We played 3 or 4 games of just precon, that day right after it came out, and just had an afternoon in the gaming store and just had fun. It was awesome.
Sweet. And I want to talk about one other aspect of Flesh and Blood. And are you guys familiar with Commander and Magic the Gathering?
No.
I promise this segues somewhere. Paul, are you familiar?
I know the name, but I don't know a whole lot about it.
All right, so I'll just the elevator pitch for Commander is you build a deck out of 100 cards. One of those cards is your commander. All 100 cards have to be different. It was originally called Elder Dragon Highlander because there can only be one, right? So you can only have one copy of each card, 100 cards. And it is meant to be a 4-player format where it's last man standing. Also Highlander, like it's a double entendre. And it is now the most popular way to play Magic. Like the only precons that Wizards of the Coast makes now are Commander precons. And if you look on your local game store night, they have a Commander night, and it's the most popular night people go to play Magic. So, and it's also it's the way that people play at the kitchen table a lot, right? When we talk about like kitchen table fab, the way to kitchen table Magic right now, really, like for many, many, many people, is playing Commander, because you can play with 4 people. And the reason that I'm talking about this is that there's a format for Flesh and Blood called Ultimate Pit Fight. And it's especially prescient to talk about it right now because there are many cards that we've seen spoiled so far for Everfest that support this format of the game. And so the way that Ultimate Pit Fight works is you use the young heroes. So you use your Blitz format heroes, so 20 health. But instead of building a 40-card deck, you build a 60-card deck. So you have a full 60-card deck, but only 20 health. And you play with 4 people. And the way that the game works is that you can only attack or target the heroes to your left and right. So you can't target the person across the table from you, nor can they target you. And the main part of the game is that, and this is true in Commander as well, is that you are supposed to shit talk and table bargain.
I like it.
Yeah, so it's supposed to be an intensely social part of the game. You're supposed to be like wheeling and dealing as you're playing. And also you build your decks around the fact that you're going to be wheeling and dealing.
It's like Catan for Flesh and Blood.
Yeah. That's actually
like, you're like, can I get some sheep?
That's actually not far off. Like you could attack me, but if you don't, right? Like that's the like exactly right. You know what I mean? And I want to bring it up because you might not be interested in Flesh and Blood as a heads-up card game. Heads-up card game might sound like the most awful thing in the world to you, but a shit-talking, wheeling and dealing 4-player deathmatch might sound pretty fucking awesome.
I can't wait to do that with our social anxiety card group.
So I think you guys will really like it, honestly. I just wanted to bring it up because I didn't think that you guys had heard of it, and I wanted to sort of spring it on you.
Yeah, no, I like that idea. That sounds like a lot of fun.
And also to get you up on the fact that that is actually a huge part of the new set Everfest. Like one of the cards is like called like This Round's on Me. And the way that it works is that like everyone around the table gets to draw a card when you play it. But then
that's cool.
But then you can target a person who can't attack you. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it again, the game is the card is formatted in a way that you should be playing it in multiplayer. And there is I think at least 5 cards, but they've shown out of the spoilers that are very, very, very much geared toward this format. And I cannot wait to play it. And again, I think it's interesting because, like I said, people may not be interested in the straight up heads up, super hyper competitive card game, but they might be really interested in a more casual format of this game.
Right. No, I think you're right. I mean, and it's very reasonable to do that. I think the game lends itself to playing in any level you want.
Oh, here it is. It's called This Round's on Me. Each hero draws a card. So if you're playing 4 players, all 4 people draw, but on the start of your next turn, attack like at the start of the next turn, or until the start of your next turn, all attacks that target you have -1 strength.
Yeah.
Is that a generic card or is that a Bravo card?
It's a generic card, generic.
Okay.
So everyone can run it, and it makes everyone's attacks against you weaker for the round. For their first attack. Or all attacks are -1. So like if you're playing against, for example, if you're playing against 4 people and the person to your left is Katsu and you play that card, they can't swing their Kodachis at you because they're swinging for 0.
They're only one. Yeah, they're swinging for 0.
Super fun. Anyway, so that's Ultimate Pit Fight, and that's another thing that like you just might be interested in if you've never looked at Flesh and Blood before. Could be something cool. But the last part, and we can all answer this, is guys, how do you anticipate approaching Flesh and Blood going forward from today?
How do you mean? I'm curious. How do you mean? Like,
so like, do you anticipate yourself getting more into it? Do you think you'll play at about the same level? And I think that tells a lot, right? Because we've talked about where you're playing now, and I think it means a lot to somebody to find out that you're interested in the game for the long haul at a casual level, if that's what's true, right? So I just wonder, if you foresee the game possibly, completely capturing your imagination, if you will see yourself playing less, playing more, playing about the same, like, you know what I mean? Just like a little bit of what you imagine for it going forward, as long as the game continues to be popular.
You want me to go first?
Go ahead. Yeah,
so for me, I don't imagine that I will change the way that I'm playing Flesh and Blood going forward. I think that I'm still pretty invested, that I will continue buying, multiple boxes for the normal releases, and playing the way that I'm playing now, mostly only because the idea of going out and playing on at the local gaming store on to use, just because we all know it, a Friday Night Magic kind of night for Flesh and Blood, freaks the hell out of me that I would have to interact with that many strangers and play them and people that I don't know. So playing with my friends and keeping up with the game casually and just having a shit ton of fun with my friends, and the idea of doing an ultimate pit fight and shit talking them sounds amazing to me, and I will definitely be going forward in that level. So I don't see myself getting more invested, but I don't see myself getting less invested.
But this is super important, Chris, because everybody who listens to me talk about this game, all they see is a filthy degenerate that spends like $500 or $600 every time a new set comes out, and you don't have to do that.
Yeah, like I like when a new set comes out, I'm comfortable spending $100, $200 when the new sets come out, and then I'm good. And then after that, I'm just picking up cards when I go to the store, and I'm happy with that. Like, and I feel like I get my money's worth out. I'm not going to have a competitive list. I might, and I've done this. I've gone onto the Fab Web, the aftermarket sites, and I've bought cards.
Because most of them are cheap.
Yeah, like I've gotten what stuff that I needed for the original Brute, Reinhardt. I got cards that were missing for Reinhardt. Was missing out of deck for him, so I could play him to try Brood out. So I don't mind doing stuff like that, going out and buying a card here and buying the card there to do that, specifically targeting those cards. Yep. When I'm only missing like one or two, as long as they're not massively expensive. Like I don't see myself going after any like the legendaries, like and
that's where the value is. Yeah, you're not going to go and spend $100 on a card, but you're going to easily, if the card's like $3 or $4, you're going to buy a couple of them.
Yeah, $3-4. Like I'm not going after the scab leathers for Reinhardt, but like if I open a deck,
scab skins are only like $60, and that card's good as hell. Well, anyway,
right now they're $60, but back when like a couple of months back they were still around $100. Like they've gone down now.
Yep.
So I'm that level invested. I'm very casual, like skimming at the top level. I'm good. Right. I'm having fun with it.
I like that. Paul, how about you?
Yeah, same. I don't think that'll ever be like, oh, cool, let me go play in this tournament or with random people. But I mean, it's fun, right?
Hell yeah.
Playing with Chris or our little group of people that we kind of stick to because we're all afraid of everyone. It works out well. It's a lot of fun, and I'm glad to be doing it. And, even just as something to do between games of Legion or whatever, it's awesome.
Amazing.
Like that's one of the best things about it. So I fully expect to be involved, as long as I can, or as long as I feel like having, boxes of cards floating around.
Sure. I get that too. I see unless LSS or Legend Story Studios, the company that makes the game, unless they like massively fuck the game up, I don't see that changing for either of you. And I don't see my level of play either, which is the same way I played Netrunner, right? This game is just, it's filled the cavernous hole in my heart that Netrunner left. Almost perfectly. I don't think this game is as good as Netrunner, at least not in its current form, but God, jeez, is it close. It's very close.
I was never very good at Netrunner, but that game was genius.
Yeah, I don't think there will it's like a hands down the best 2-player game ever. I don't think it is gonna. It's certainly not been beaten since it came out. But Flesh and Blood like very neatly fills that hole in my heart. And I play it the same way, which is that, I buy a lot and I play a lot. But yeah.
So if you're on our Discord, the Fab dedicated channel, I've had to mute it because I can't keep up with it. That's how much these guys are going crazy in that channel.
Pack slappers, stuff. Yeah. And someday
Dude, I can't keep up.
I'll make a video about how to slap a pack open.
I tried. It
can be done. It's a technique. It's a real technique to pack slapping. I have to show it to you. Anyway, guys, final thoughts for Flesh and Blood. Paul.
I love the heroes. I love it, love it, love it, love it, and I'm looking forward to building myself an Oldtime deck.
Hell yeah.
Current obsession.
So cool. What a cool hero. He's just like a giant dwarf paladin from WoW.
Uh-huh.
Yep. And that's cool. Why I love him.
He's to me, he's just a big old Norse Viking.
Yeah, so rad.
I mean, that's basically it. He's so good. He's so
his pauldrons, though, man. His pauldrons are so big.
I want his shield.
Yeah, the shield, too. The ram's head. Whew,
it's just the artwork on the card is beautiful. I don't even care about the ability. The card is beautiful.
It's so good. And that's another thing about this game. Jesus Christ,
beautiful,
is the art good.
Beautiful artwork. Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss.
So good. But final thoughts. Is that your final thoughts, Chef Kiss art?
No, Chef Kiss art. No, for my final thought, I'm going to slip in one thing that I appreciate about the game. The weapons. The weapons.
Oh yeah, and that right there. It's not just your hero. The weapon you choose for your hero changes the way you play the hero. Oh God, this game. It's like an onion. So many layers.
Ogres have layers.
Yes, I got to make the Shrek reference. So my final thought for Fab is just like, please give the game a shot. If you have a friend who plays it, believe them when they tell you how good it is. If you're friends with me personally, let me demo the game for you. I'm not going to try and shove product down your throat, make you buy it. I just want you to play one of my Blitz decks and have some fun. Play this damn game. It's so good. And that's it. One of you guys want to read us out?
I heard Chris does.
Okay. Thanks to our patrons. We appreciate you guys. Thanks to Static as a City for the intro and outro music. Follow us on the socials at 3 Men in a War Game with the number 3, not the letters. And come join our Discord. It's an amazing community of over 200 people, and it's constantly happening. So come join us.
I love happening.
Happening.